All right, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Lots of important news that Elon just dropped. Of course, he talks about FSD 14, calling it sentient. It's maybe 100 times, maybe 1,000 times better than the version that we're using now. We'll talk to the gang here. And he made some incredible comments about Model YL, that it may not come to the US until end of next year and may not even come because Robotaxi is here. That is just full of just interpretation of how you might take it. We got the panel here with us today. We co-stream this on Futuraza. Check out his YouTube channel. That's Brian White. He's traveling. He's in Nepal right now. So it's, I don't know, midnight your time, Brian. And then we've got Chris, Dirty Tesla, OG, full self-driving tester. He has got his channel as well at YouTube. And if you want to see, maybe I should go there and look at some of the original FSDs. Just really check it out how much it's progressed. That's what you want to do. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great. It's crazy. We forget how bad it used to look and how bad it used to work. Well, I don't forget some of the things, but overall, it's just become one more thing. And I don't know about you guys, but I've never owned a car that just automatically got better after I bought it. So it's crazy to see little improvements coming, like when you get the high beam adjustments fixed, or tweaks to the way the Rave Cave light show works. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, we're talking about FSD becoming sentient, Brian. So.
Well, but we got to ease into it, man. We got an hour to fill.
Okay, Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so just in general, all the improvements of FSD and everything over time has been incredible. And the past couple, going from version 11 to version 12 and then 12 to 13, has just kind of blown me away, even though I've watched it improve this whole time. The level that it's at now, if we do get an improvement like you just mentioned, even a 10 times improvement, but if you go 100 or 1,000 times like you mentioned, that's it, man. It's gonna be kind of game over, I think.
Okay, so it sounds like you're letting it out of the cat out of the bag. You think that the next version could be the version that goes Robotaxi. Let's set up the stage here and see what's happened. So this Ray for Tesla posted this. William Blair was an analyst. The William Blair analyst Jed Dorsheimer was interviewed. He actually tested Robotaxi in Austin, and he had just incredible things to say. Felt a lot more like a human was driving it, while Waymo rides still felt somewhat robotic. Elon responded to this, so let's listen to what he said first.
But we were down in Austin last week, trialing the Robotaxi, which is a beta version, comes public in September. And we also trialed Waymo through Uber. And our experience was surprising. The Tesla drove much more autonomously, felt a lot more like a person was driving that. It was very comfortable. There were no safety issues that we had in any of our rides, and it surprised me to the upside. I was pleasantly surprised by this experience.
Yeah. Well, what were you expecting? I assume you've ridden in Waymos and the like. So, I'm just curious what your expectations were. And then talk about pricing for me, because I know that also is something you've noted.
I was expecting something that was more like Waymo. And for us, I've taken many Waymo rides. It still feels somewhat robotic, when you are entering a intersection or taking a left, that you can almost, it feels as if the computer is thinking, is it sensing things out, which it is doing. Whereas the Tesla, which the stark difference is Waymo uses LiDAR and uses laser in addition to cameras and vision, where Tesla is a vision only and using its neural net much more like a person. And that it just felt more normal. Now,
okay, well, welcome to the party. Finally, we're hearing the things we need to hear from these guys. They tested out Robotaxi. He finally gets the difference. And then Elon replied to him, or to that post, saying he was just on version 13. So what you're hearing about how raving, how great this car drives, Tesla's Robotaxi, he's just version 13. Version 14 is the second biggest update to Tesla AI Autopilot ever after the jump to version 12, it feels alive. And then he said, version 14 of Tesla self-driving feels sentient. So Chris, tell us about, first of all, this comment, second biggest update, or what do you think about what Jed said?
Sure. Yeah. So the analyst, it sounds like he's been watching some of my FSD videos because of the way he described that. It's so funny hearing the Waymo feels like a robot and the Tesla feels more natural, because that's how FSD used to feel. You could feel this kind of robotic nature of the self-driving kind of make its way through a scenario. And that really did seem to mostly disappear with version 13. And I totally agree with what he said. When I took the Waymo drives while I was in Austin, it's a lot more clunky. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still impressive, it's still autonomous. I don't want to discount it, but it doesn't feel as good, period, as FSD. And so hearing him say all of that it's funny. But like you said, welcome to the party, man. Like, we've been kind of experiencing this for a long time. And then the jump to version 12, 11 to 12 is when all the code was deleted, right? And they moved to the neural nets. So seeing that it's going to be a comparable jump from 13 to 14, it's hard to believe. I mean, it's going to be amazing.
Can you speak a little bit to that? What was, because you've been testing FSD since version 0, and then before the version 12, what was that experience for you?
Yeah, so version 11 to version 12, on the kind of like the customer experience, the end user experience, it was hard to tell a huge difference. There were definitely big improvements. So in the background, things were kind of coded, right? On version 11, it's like, if you see a stop sign, you do this. And going to version 12, they changed that to use the neural nets, which they then refined further in version 13, where we got the extremely smooth driving that we have today. But there were in version 11, a lot of different mistakes, like consistent weird mistakes the car would make, that I am guessing is attributed to the fact of the way the code was written, where, one of my biggest ones, as a lane was opening, the vehicle would always kind of like swerve into it. And sometimes it would correct itself. But for the most part, on version 11, a few years ago, FSD would always make the same mistake every time in the same spot. And you're kind of like, why, can't this be fixed? And there were a lot of different small things like that. And then version 12 came along and everything disappeared. All the problems, all the weirdness was just gone. And it wasn't perfect. And on that version 2, I kind of had my like, hey, don't get me wrong, this is great, but I like nobody in the driver's seat. I don't know. It seems kind of far-fetched even for version 12. But it was a big jump in just kind of like making everything work all at once, it seemed like, right? And then when we went to 13, that's when I finally, it was version 13 was my first time kind of saying like, okay, maybe they're onto something here. I think this could be the version that you could see driverless. The exact thing I said was, maybe I still have to be in the driver's seat, but it's going to do everything. And then if you look at Austin, that's pretty much what we have, right? It's even better than I said. There's nobody in the driver's seat and it's driving around all over Austin.
It was interesting to see the way he approached all of this, because it is exactly what we've been saying. It does feel natural. It does feel like we're kind of there. I'm still seeing a lot of pushback from people saying it does this one little thing wrong. Well, most of what people are saying it does wrong are things that, when I see them, I'd say I would have driven differently. Not that it was unsafe, just that I would have, maybe changed lanes differently or something. Maybe I would have not hesitated because I feel like I have more certainty. Maybe I'm making eye contact with another driver. Prolonged eye contact? No. But but what we're seeing is, if this next version is that big of a step change, we're getting, it's really smooth now. It's the stops, the starts, the turns. It's just, I don't know how much better it can get in terms of everything, all the little things. I think what we're definitely going to see in the next version is the last 20 feet supported. Hopefully we'll be able to put a pin on the map and say, not just my address, this is where I want to park at my address, park in this spot. Or when you get to a store, have an option that pops up that says front door, parking spot, and then of course I'd like to see banish as well. But summon is a little different. Summon I'm comfortable with because I can watch it, but banish, I don't want to look over my shoulder. That's too stressful, but believe me, when it comes out, I will be playing with it plenty.
So when he says this, it feels alive. This is version 14 that's about to come. Second biggest update to Tesla Autopilot ever after version 12. It feels alive, and he says it's going to feel sentient. Let's talk about what that might mean.
Well, it's going to judge us. It's going to judge where I put into navigate to, right?
I'll speak back to you. For me, I think the car is at version 13, that one I'm using right now. It's been flawless. And then there's a few times, because like you said, Brian, it doesn't, sometimes I'll judge it based on, hey, I wouldn't have done that. For example, if there's a semi truck, I'm going to stay clear of it. And then I'll go, you know what, I'm going to pass it. But I certainly don't want to be driving right beside it for an extended period of time. Or there's times when you see cars merging in from the highway, and I'll go, I'm going to move to the left. I see Tesla version 13 do that sometimes, and I go, this is great, good job 13. And then sometimes I just say, okay, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to give them plenty of room so that they know it's their turn. Like clearly communicating with the driver. That's what I think that he might mean. It feels alive. It feels sentient. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Well, I will say one thing I noticed on version 13 that's eerie is I would go to put my finger on the blinker or my hand on the blinker stock, depending on the car. And just as I would do that, it would signal and change lanes on the highway. And it was so good at that I almost wondered if it's watching me with the cabin camera and taking it as a clue, because I don't know. I don't know what they're doing inside the box. It's hard to see. A big thing I would suggest is it likes to move from the fast lane to the middle lane in a semi-truck's blind spot. Please don't do that. And I know it can react faster than me. It can get back out of that lane faster than me. Still just easy to avoid. Hopefully that's something that the training has picked up.
Yeah, there's a lot of those scenarios that you just touched on, Herbert, where it's more like interacting. I think you both touched on it, like interacting with other drivers that could be better. Again, it's not bad. It's not like it's going to collide with anything. It's just things can get a little awkward sometimes, or positioning can get weird because I notice a lot of times, like somebody will, you can kind of tell when you think someone wants to change lanes, right? Like you're like, oh, they're probably going to move over here. And you just stay away from them because you can tell. FSD doesn't seem to have that level of foresight. Now, it does have some foresight sometimes and does surprise me with the things that it sees and reacts to. But the human randomness is still quite a problem sometimes for FSD. Some other more concrete things. I mean, there's definitely, I have several drives now on 13 where the car does everything. I don't touch a thing. And that just was never the case, even with version 12. It just didn't happen. But there are things like speed control that do get into, they get into opinion, right? Just like you said, Brian, where people will complain about something, but it's more like, well, it's just different than what you would do. It's not necessarily wrong. But there are some where it's wrong, especially with going too fast in slower zones and then going too slow in fast zones. Again, it's not a critical issue. It's not like, something's going to explode, but it's just like, the speed limit's 55 here. Why do you want to go 40? Or the speed limit's 25 here. Why do you also want to go 40, right? And then on top of that, smaller, like really small things in the road, like some road debris and even potholes. I mean, something like that would be a massive improvement. But outside of those like few things, there's not like a whole lot of like, it does this one thing wrong every time that you can really pinpoint.
I think it's going to go beyond those things you just mentioned, by the way. I think he might be referring to, remember that example that Ashok Goswami talked about where the car goes to a toll booth? Oh, Chris,
yep,
you were the guy.
Right,
Dirty Tesla and his wife. You're incredible. That video, I hope people have seen it, but I hope that it could be a historical video. But you were awesome. You should I describe it? Should you describe it? It was so good.
Go for it. I want to hear it from your point of view.
Well, I just love. Well, I mean, so you said, okay, I'm on FSD. You're telling your wife, okay, you went to a toll booth and you told her, I'm on FSD, like just to see what it might do. And the car stopped. You had an interaction with the attendant. You exchanged money. And then after she said something like, I don't know, goodbye, good evening, the car started moving and you were like shocked a little bit. You didn't really respond right away. And then about 2 seconds later, you go, what? Did you see what happened? The car 100%. Felt like it just moved right after I heard her say that. And then the two of you start explaining, like, just getting more and more excited as the car kept driving, going, did we just, it was, you were disbelief that this car could have actually had an intelligent brain. And you're going, maybe it was accidental, maybe it wasn't. And then Ashok replied to your post saying, no, we've been training the FSD to use the cameras to listen into conversations and to actually understand that this is a transaction happening and then that it's over and then it can move. I mean, that was just mind blowing that the car can do something like that.
100%. I was very surprised. Yeah. Go ahead,
One thing you said earlier, Chris, was that it on version 12 and before, it would, or 11 and before, really, it would make the same mistake over and over. And I'm definitely not seeing that anymore. Sometimes you'll have an error. Maybe it's the time of day. Maybe it's the other vehicles around. But you come back to the same intersection to try and reproduce it, and it's not there. It's gone. I don't know where it went. And I've seen behavior where, like on version 13, one time only, it navigated me to the restaurant and then parked without any prompting. It just backed into a spot safely and correctly. And it was, we were hopeful that it was the dawn of a new era, but it wasn't. It's hard to know what it's thinking, but it does feel like it's thinking rather than just responding to, prompts.
Yeah, for sure. And you are 100% right on that. I've had the same thing, several times, I guess I would say, where you get to the end of a drive, a destination, and it just parks itself. And you're like, yeah, this is great. And then other times it just stops like in the parking lot and parks. And you're like, well, I mean, if it's a robo taxi, that makes sense. Like, I'm just going to get out and go, but it's not a robo taxi. So I need you to park in the parking spot. So I'm sure that will definitely be included in this next version. But I like Herbert's saying, I think it's going to be beyond all of these things. That was a good example with the toll booth. I honestly didn't even kind of think of that as a good example, but I think that's a great example of what he's talking about. There's going to be all these things that maybe you didn't even think about or realize, and the car is thinking and acting like a human, just in a car body.
Yeah. Feels sentient, right? Because it knew what was going on. And then have you tested it on drive-thrus? Because I've seen one guy do it, and then the car would actually, when he gets to the payment area or the delivery of the food window, it moves closer, like we all do, without hitting a curb, hopefully, but get close enough so that you can actually reach to the credit card, reach for the food. And then in this case, it drove off too fast without listening to the final conversation, but it still did that maneuver.
Right. Yeah, I did. I did test after that a lot of different things, because like, all right, how far are we going here? And the toll booth worked a few more times, so that was pretty repeatable. There was a couple of times where it didn't, but only one time did it pull away too soon. The other times it either worked or it just waited too long, which is preferable, of course. And then the drive-thrus would not work for me. It did seem to stop at the speaker where I was making my order. But I ordered enough.
How do you even make the car go through a drive-thru? I've never tried it.
Just did
it. I don't even know how.
So I navigated to McDonald's, and it literally, it could have been because there were already cars like in the drive-thru, but I touched absolutely nothing, and it went to the line of cars, and there was only one car in line, so it's not like that. There's a ton of vehicles for reference, and it just got behind that truck. And it just followed it right through. It got to the speaker, and I was kind of thinking, it's probably just sitting here because the car is in front of me blocking. But as I'm talking in the speaker, the car in front of me continues moving forward just a little bit. It's not like a huge gap in front of me or anything, but it's definitely a big enough gap that earlier in this scenario, waiting in the drive-thru, the Tesla was moving forward to kind of close the gap a little bit, and it just sat there and waited. And then I stopped, and I'm thinking, does this have to do with me rolling my window up or down? Is it because my arm is sticking out? I'm like trying all these different things, and I can't find any like super consistency with any of those kind of secondary possible clues,
signals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it did the speaker like perfectly. I think twice I got that. I didn't want to keep going through the drive-thru over and over again. But the window, it didn't. No, it was just going to drive right past the window for me. But I did see the video you're talking about where it definitely pulled right up there and kind of got closer. So it's like it's there, right? It's kind of the beginnings of it, and then it's all going to be like, yep, here we are in next updates.
Now, you drive a lot on FSD. How often do you control the entire car's operation with the passenger door button?
Yeah, never,
What?
never. I've pushed my door button, several times to be like, guys, this doesn't do anything. People have the weirdest theories like, oh, well, it opens the door, which would turn off FSD. And I'm like, no, it does nothing
No.
when the car is driving. It's disabled. You would, because you're in drive.
But we don't know
Right.
that in the Tesla Model Y that they're using in Austin for robotaxi, that they didn't do something and change that function of
100%.
that door.
Oh,
We don't
I'm
know.
sure they did.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But the idea that that's what's controlling it, James Stevenson made a great joke about it. He said, so wait, on those trains that have an emergency brake thing for people to grab, are all of us driving the train? Because if that's the criteria, I think there's hundreds of
good point.
drivers aboard.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's sentient. I mean, obviously, Elon is prone to over exaggeration. It'll feel alive.
Yeah.
It'll feel sentient. But, the idea that it's going to be the second biggest update to autopilot ever after version 12, I think that could be true. Can we talk a little bit about
part's
that?
More
Yeah.
exciting. Well, I can't talk much more about that because I don't understand. I'm not a wizard, and clearly this is just wizardry. There's no technology, there's no software. It's just magic. So I don't know. Chris, do you know more about the Eye of Newt?
No, I could speculate all day and give comparisons to past updates and feelings and stuff. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, it's just way, way beyond my pay grade.
Well, there's some people on X that was talking about this, and they were saying that, okay, if FSD 14 is a bigger jump, then it could be 100 times or 1,000 times better. And I don't know where you come up with these numbers, but they're saying exponential curve. And then that would mean that this will take us to safer than a human, from 5,000 to 500,000 miles before intervention. These are guesses, I guess, people are making. But, so at this point, we're all driving FSD version 13 on hardware for cars, right? All three of us.
Yes. I
And
am.
we're all, I'm assuming, I haven't talked to you, Chris, but Brian and I have just been raving how we're basically feeling that it's been flawless for 6.5 months for me. Now with this version 14, to me, that feels like that is enough to get us, and it's a N of 1, right? N of 2 here. We don't know if this is yet to the 10,000, 20, whatever, how many thousand miles you need before it to be safer than a human. But this sounds like this is it. 14 could do us.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, out of all of the, Tesla drivers out there posting all their experiences, any even minor problem is magnified, by a million on the internet that you find with Tesla FSD, which is fine. The lack of major issues that people are experiencing, it's a great sign. And if version 14 is even a 10x improvement, I mean, it's going to be insane because it's already, as an individual, and I've said this for a long time, when FSD gets to the point where it's, good enough to be a robotaxi or say half is good enough. So I don't know, I'm just going to make up a number for now. We can get more into this later, but let's say you need 1 million miles per intervention. Okay. Just stick with that. Once we get to that point, or even half of that point, so 500,000 miles per intervention, I, as an individual driving this around, should have a hard time arriving to situations where, something is happening that I absolutely need to take over. Not personal preference, not like, oh, that was kind of awkward, but like an imminent collision, or it was going to hit the curb or something like that. It just should be hard for me to find that. Not that I'll never see it, but it'll be hard to find. Now, the next level, as you approach that, is we have all these people posting and taking videos and sharing. So we're still going to see it every once in a while, right? Because there's so many, there's going to be millions of miles driven every day on FSD, or at least hundreds of thousands of miles every day on FSD. So you'll, every day or every other day, you'll still see something from someone here and there. And then it's going to get to the point where it's like, I haven't seen any weird mistake posted by anyone in a long time. And I'm hoping that's kind of where we're going to get to with version 14, because as of right now, if you look at the internet as a whole, I think every, once in a while you see something with 13 where someone's like, oh, I was going to run this red light, or, I had to take over here because it was going to do this thing. But it is the reports on these things are dropping more and more. And, I can get it to mess up. Don't get me wrong. But in normal driving where I'm not like pushing things or like, hey, let's mess this up to see, how it reacts. It's just not very common for me to have that type of mistake anymore for, like I said, the past several months.
One thing I had recently is I was approaching a traffic light. It turned yellow. FSD went through, and the kid said, that was a red light. And I said, yes, but I would have done the same thing. So
those things get subjective. The red light, yellow, I mean, not a red light, but a yellow light, most people go through them. And I've even complained about it in the past. I put a lot of videos up, and one of the interesting things is seeing all the reactions, because as you guys know, when you post content, people don't comment when they agree with you, right? They comment when they disagree with you. So if I post a clip and I say, oh, we definitely should have went through that yellow light, that was great, I get a million comments saying, oh, you are so stupid that you should not have gone through that. If I post the exact same clip and go, oh, FSD should not have gone through that light, I think that was too close, I'll get a million comments saying, well, that was the perfect decision, you are totally wrong. So a lot of these things, get into the realm of opinion, and all of that. Now, a self-driving car is going to have to err way on the side of caution. So in my opinion, it should be stopping for every yellow light. Do I want to do that? No, I do not. But once the car is, if they take nags away, for example, I don't think that's going to happen, at least initially. But if they take the nags away and they're like, yeah, go ahead, you can text on your phone as long as it's legal in your state or whatever. Am I going to care if it stops at every yellow light? Heck no, I'm not even going to notice. I'm just gonna be like, hey, we got here in, 29 minutes instead of 28 and a half minutes because it was being a little safe. So there's just so many improvements that this can bring in ways that people can't even imagine. It's going to be, we're all going to have a field day driving this around and kind of playing with it, because it's just, life's going to get better in terms of self-driving.
So one of the features I do not like that I'm experiencing with FSD 13 is this. It happened 2 or 3 times right now. You'd be parked, red light, the car would start driving forward, and you're going, what's going on? It's red light, turns green. So it kind of anticipated, it's crazy. It anticipated, but I still don't like it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I feel like it's driving forward a little too early, even though, yes, it did turn green, but you're already past the line, and it turned green after you passed the line. And I'm like, don't do that, dude. Stop.
Yeah, it's very cool and very impressive. I don't know, what it's looking at to figure that out. Probably something with the crosswalks or the other traffic lights or something. But that's the problem, is sometimes it does it too early to the point where it's still red when it's trying to drive through. And the other thing that I always like to point out about this, not an excuse at all, but I think is very important in the context of this, psychic ability or whatever, is there's never traffic driving through the intersection when it does this, right? It's a clear intersection, and so it's not going to physically run into anything. Still totally bad. Don't do it. But it's interesting that it can see enough of everything in the world to be like, yeah, that's good. What are we waiting for? What a waste of these humans. They waste so much time.
I don't know. Maybe it's watching all your videos, and it's like, that's the way Chris drives. And so that's what we're going to do. Yeah, dumb.
I definitely cannot predict green lights. FSD is way beyond me in that capacity.
So what have we heard? When is 14 coming?
End of September.
That's what he said.
100%.
2 weeks ago?
It'll never be late.
The AI team is pretty good about their deadlines.
But this was communicated by Elon, though, not the AI team.
Yeah. So 2 weeks, maybe end of next year, definitely.
I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Yeah, that would be a shock for sure.
Get out of here.
Okay, so his statements about FSD 14, okay, yeah, he's done this before, right? He's had these other FSDs, and he goes, it's fire. It is,
Yes, he's been saying that since 6 or 7.
Mind-blowing.
I've got the latest build. It will blow your mind. And then we later hear that from the biographer that he marched into the FSD office and said, it tried to kill me. Yeah, it did. So I don't know.
But,
I don't know.
This one I kind of believe, because they have been driving it already. It's in final testing, and it's no longer this wishful thing that by this date this will happen. They've been using it now. So,
yeah. Well, the other point about that is, it's already so good. So, if Elon was posting and saying, oh, it's going to be 1,000x improvement, and then he was wrong and it was a 10x improvement, it's going to be insane. I mean, it's going to be so good, because it already is so good. But yeah, in the past, I remember, you can find one of my old videos. You were talking about that earlier. I remember when FSD version 5 came out, and that was the exact post. He was like, version 5 is mind blowing. And this was one of the first times This is back in early 2021. This is one of the first times he had made a post like that about FSD. And so 10 of us or whoever who were making videos were like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be good. We were freaking out. And then I am just like so excited. I love all this technology and stuff. And then I go take it for a drive. And I'm like, there's nothing even different. What is happening? Like I in the video, I'm like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't notice a difference, everybody.
I mean, the words "it will feel alive" and sentient, that is pretty out there.
That's huge.
Yeah. So they're setting expectations. But like you said, it's so good now. We're really so close to it, to be used as robotaxi. Do you think 14 is that? So that you kind of answered it earlier. Is 14 the one that's going to allow them to remove the safety rider? Jeff Lutz and I have started calling it safety rider, not safety monitors, because that's all they're doing. They're just riding in the car.
Yeah.
Safety riders in Austin. Do you think that's enough?
Oh man, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, 13 already is, you can say, driverless. It's not unsupervised. You can get really, into all of these words. It's being supervised. It is not being driven though. And there's nobody to make an emergency brake or an emergency turn of the steering wheel. And we haven't had a problem yet, right? There's been no issues. Because again, if anything happened, that's going to be all over, TikTok and everything immediately.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you because there are two big issues, and I don't think either of you know about them. One gentleman went 39 and a 35, and another gentleman crashed. Wait a minute.
First FSD crash, baby.
Yeah, and I loved it. I saw the headline. I was like, no way.
Wait,
and then I
that
saw
was you, Chris, right? You said
was
you
Chris.
were doing that for engagement farming, and
No.
No.
I didn't say crash.
No, but everyone who picked up on it did.
All the news stories put crash in the title. I technically, I
think
guess
they
if
said
you want-
collision.
I saw crash. There were several that
happened,
said the
Chris?
word. So there was this, I don't know if you took it to the Home Slice, the pizza place at any time there. But that was a spot where there's a really tight area in the parking lot, and FSD, the robotaxi, would get really close to this wall. It's like a half wall for, whatever. Every time it would get super close. I mean, just a couple of inches away from this wall. And so I kept going there because I was like, that's pretty weird. That's getting so close to this wall. And then the next day I go again and it didn't do it anymore. And I was like, wow. Cause of course I had posted it on X. And I'm like, wow, it's not getting close to this wall anymore. Did they fix it? That's crazy. So then the end of that day is like at night, I'm taking people for rides, like randos off the internet. And I'm like, oh, let's go to this place. It was pretty interesting. And it's not that far. Like I want to finish this up. It was, 5 minutes away. We get there and there are cars parked on both sides of this super thin parking lot. Like the Model Y could fit through there, but there was barely any room for anyone to fit through there at all. And I'm like, okay, I mean, whatever. I'm just using the robotaxi. I don't know what the situation's going to be when I get there. So long story short, it pulls up real close to this car and then it ends the ride and it puts the hazards on. It's like, all right, get out. So I go, okay. So we get out and we're watching and it just kind of like does this towards the car and then stops at the last second. Hazards turn on. I don't know if the safety, passenger or whatever stopped it. Initially I'm looking at the bumper of the robotaxi next to the car. It's not touching at all, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, that was close. Well, upon further inspection, I didn't realize until way later when I was reviewing the footage, the tire of the robotaxi actually did touch that vehicle. Like that's literally it. Okay.
Like so gently.
Yes, because it turned, the tires came out of the wheel well and just barely touched his car. And so of course I posted it. I'm here to, Tesla knows who they're inviting to these things, right? I'm not going to lie about anything going on there.
No lie.
It's just, that's exactly what happened is it just touched his car. And I said, man, it was unfortunate that it touched this vehicle. That's the phrasing I used. And then these news places found it like the first Tesla robotaxi crash. I'm like, wow, I don't know if you
good job, Chris.
Crash. Well,
good job.
Hey, you know what? Tesla should be happy that that's the first one because nothing happened.
So I caused a national stir.
Tell yours.
I was doing one of the very first robotaxi live stream, 4-hour live stream, and we're driving along. Alexandra Mertz asks me, "Hey, what is the speed limit?" So I look at the camera, it says 35. How fast is a car driving? And I looked at the camera and it says 39 on a 35 zone. And then I said, but I'm happy. I'm glad that it's doing that because take a look at the other cars. The traffic is going much faster than we are. This is great. Anyways, that was written into an article saying that Tesla speed. Then that article was then referred to by multiple newscasts saying that Tesla speed erratically and all that stuff. And I'm like, what? 39 out of 35 zone, that's Tesla speeding? I mean, crazy.
Yeah.
And as I pointed out on Herbert's show the other day, or I guess tomorrow, is that you're not actually going 39. If it says 39, you're going 38. It's just how cars are. It's a NHTSA thing where if a car maker says, if your speed says 39 and you're going 40, the car maker gets fined like $10,000 per car in the fleet. So they will always underestimate it by one. And it's stupid, but it's what it is. So Herbert was going less than basically 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. And this is a national
5 to 10 second, because obviously all of us, the speed's always going to be, fluctuating as you're driving.
That's how, if you didn't drive that way, you would cause driver confusion. It would be chaos. They're looking for something to be upset about. And I'm just glad we've got both experts here to dispute it.
How did I become an expert?
By holding the camera the correct direction.
Chris has been driving FSD every single day for 5 years. By the way, Chris, I was one of the first 300 too. I was able to get that, but I wasn't as fanatical as you guys. I just tested just to see what's happening. But you guys are awesome.
You were fearing for your life back then. I get it.
No,
it wasn't for everybody.
Yeah, I was never fearing for my life, ever. Yeah. But I mean, the stats prove it today, isn't it? That FSD supervised is actually safer than unsupervised. That's just a fact. So talking about FSD supervised, here's another bit of news here. Full-scale self-driving FSD has begun in Japan. Domestic release timing depends on our development status and regulatory authority approval, but they have released a video here of FSD being done in Japan. I'll just fast forward it quickly. We've seen a million of these, but
you can turn the music down.
Yeah, here's the list. Thank you, Sawyer, for putting this down. Tesla's tested FSD supervised in Italy, Netherlands, Japan, Spain, UK, Germany, France, Australia, Canada, US, China, Mexico, Puerto Rico. I think it might even be bigger than this, I feel like. But car can drive anywhere.
Those are some challenging markets too. I mean, they're not, Delhi or, there are some real boss level cities out there where I've got a video coming up that says why I don't think it will ever work here in Kathmandu, where I am at the moment. And part of the reason isn't because of anything technical. It's because the way they drive results in bumper cars. And I don't think FSD, I don't think you would accept that from a robot driver. If you touch another car with your car, you're like, well, it happens. But with FSD, I mean, what am I paying for if you're going to rub cars like I would? That's terrible. So, but there are other obstacles. There's a lot of the communication between the cajillion motorbikes and tuk-tuks and cars on the road is nonverbal. I mean, you look at each other, or the simplest hand gestures that a human can pick up on. I don't know if it can. So it is, in China, it was solved. China roads used to be total chaos. But before they solved FSD, they solved the roads. The roads are not chaos like they used to be. They've gotten a lot more civilized. And we've seen cars do well in China where they pull out to the street, wait, and then go. There's no waiting here. If you wait, you that's where you live now. That's your new life. So I don't know how I don't know how you solve it in a place like this.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's get to the next.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No, we got to move on here.
Before, yeah. Oh, I was just going to say before we move on, I do not have an after show today because it is 12:24 a.m. Where I am, and I must sleep at some point.
All right. I was just thinking of the word sentient. I mean, Elon said sentient, dude. The thing can understand hand signals. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep, it can now, right, Chris? I mean, we've seen it, right?
Maybe, yeah. It's
construction workers.
For now, it's kind of hit or miss, but I think version 14, if it's sentient,
Yeah.
will definitely nail it
so
every time.
we all agree that when Ashoka Swami says something, it's a little bit different. And he did say, we are
Oh, yeah.
teaching it these kinds of videos and it's learning human
Yes.
intent,
Yes.
right? So this next big thing that Elon said is kind of rocking the world here for Tesla investors and Tesla kind of reading what does he mean by this? Is robotaxi coming sooner? Is Tesla going to create more robo vehicles sooner than we all realize? So first it started with this guy saying basically, Tesla China just released a 6-seater Model Y. You should probably say something because Tesla Model Y L has been released in China. Elon hasn't said anything in the last day, and that's the joke. And then Omar said he's not going to say anything until the international release, obviously. People think he just forgot, but these are deliberate choices. Elon's deliberately not going to say anything until it releases here in the US or Europe. Guess what? Elon actually said something that shocked all of us, right? He said this variant of the Model Y doesn't start production in the US until the end of next year. That shocked many of us because we thought it was going to be this quarter or next quarter. Might not ever. So Tesla may not even ever launch this Model Y L, given the advent of self-driving in America. Wow.
So I think it's an attempt to prevent Osborning sales of the existing Model Y. I think we're still going to see it. I think the idea that they wouldn't release it makes no sense. It is a huge addressable market. FSD is real. It's here. Robotaxi is coming online, but Robotaxi is not going to be nationwide in every market by the end of next year or even the year after. It's going to take time. There are a lot of states where the legislature doesn't even meet except once every 2 years. Texas is an example of that. Montana is an example. And they can't necessarily pass laws to enable it. And if a state doesn't have it, it's going to take that much time. And if you and I are allowed to put our cars in the network, it doesn't matter which car it is. It's whatever car we have. Give us the car we actually want. A lot of people want that bigger car. If it's popular in China, where the average family is even smaller than here, it'll reasonably sell here, where the average car is already bigger. So I think it's just an attempt to make people more excited about the cars they can get today rather than soon.
Yeah. I totally agree. It has to be something like that because I don't know. It's just like almost the perfect car for the American market. It's slightly too small, versus the perfect, but it's very close to approaching that ideal American vehicle, outside of a pickup truck, of course, which they have. Bring this. People want bigger cars. It's the number one thing I hear when I talk to people like, oh, I love the Model Y. It's just not big enough for us. We have 3 kids. 3 kids, you can technically fit in the Model Y. But a lot of people just don't want to do that when they can get a much bigger vehicle. They don't know all the Tesla benefits outside of that. They just look at the vehicle size and they go, it's not really for us. So makes absolutely no sense to me. And I don't know how FSD or autonomy is related to it in the slightest, because you're not going to have, I can guess that he's saying, oh, people aren't going to own cars that much longer because of autonomy. Yes, they are. For a lot in America, especially for a long time. I mean, I live I'm not even going to see a traffic light until I'm driving for 15 minutes. So I'm not waiting for a robotaxi to come get me anytime soon. You know what I mean? I'm going to be owning cars for a long time.
Yeah, that's not what I read.
Yeah. I read it. I'm confident it will require a generational shift. The cultural shift is going to take years decades, really. Many years, because there are people, we look at people, we see FSD, we see all the benefits that these cars have, but you have to look at, even among people who already own a Tesla, half of them have never tried FSD even when it was free. You think these are people who are itching to give up car ownership? I don't see it happening terribly soon, certainly not within the normal lifespan of a new product. The YL could reach the end of its natural product cycle by the time people start thinking about giving up car ownership completely.
I think you're both jumping to the conclusion that he's saying autonomy is here. We don't need to sell cars. No, he's saying I don't need to build this brand new variant because I'm going to now use all my factories, build as many cybercabs as possible. We'll still sell the Model 3s and Model Ys. That's going to go sell. But do we need to redirect the efforts of the North American markets? Because the North American market is geared towards full self-driving and getting approval for robotaxi. If we continue to get approval for robotaxi in the next 6 months, why wouldn't we absolutely, and he's the CEO, I'm going to go and say, I want all the factories all pumping out robo taxis, cybercabs, maybe some version of let's start planning for a version of a robo vehicle in the future. This is designed specifically, cars designed specifically. If the future is within a year away from now, why create another drivable car? Even though this version of the drivable car is already designed, it's already in sale in other places, you still need to make that decision in your own factories. Now, they'll sell that in Europe and they'll sell that in China, because FSD and robotaxi, it could take years for them to catch up, but in the US it's not. So he's not saying that we're going to stop selling cars to customers. I think they will eventually in the future. But he's still Model 3, Model Ys. But why build the Model Y L, despite it potentially being a big market? Let's now create. So Dave Lee had a great post, and he said, and you know this so well, Brian, there is a huge difference, a massive difference between cars built for robotaxi and cars built for driving, right? Cars built for driving, which is the Model 3, Model Y, and many cars, you want speed, you want torque, you want drivability, right? Because it's built for the driving world. Cars built for robotaxi, you want comfort. You don't need speed. You don't need all that extra things that are built in for driver experience. So we're going to change all of our platforms. We're going to move to the unboxed model. We're going to double down on that and grow those instead of adding yet another line.
No. So they already did all the engineering. They already did all the tooling. If they can build it next year, that means they already did the retooling at all 4 factories, at least 3, and not just 2. We know they did it in Shanghai. We know they did it in Berlin. I know. I'm not reading
might not
anymore.
ever, which is the plan is still to do it.
Might.
But he goes, might not ever, because
They've
if
already
we get
done
to
the
this
tooling,
point by
they've
next
already
year,
done the engineering.
If
there's
they've
no
already
point.
Yeah, they've already
Just
done the
release
engineering.
the gosh darn car.
They're going to start production in the U.S. until the end of the year, but might not.
It would be
ever.
the stupidest thing he's done in, I don't know, ever.
I don't agree.
It wouldn't make any sense. No. I know you don't agree, but I'm telling you, this is nonsense. The idea that we're going to switch all the factories over to unboxed next year, that's not happening. That's too big of an ask.
Wait,
they have
not
the
what we're
space.
saying.
They could. Well, then, I mean, the Model Y line
You
is the
still
Model
sell the
Y
Model
line.
Y.
They can, right, but the line's there. Build the car people want more of. They're not using. They have so much surplus capacity in Texas for Model Y. Build a car people want, and they will. I'm confident they will. This is surely. I mean, I'm getting swamped with comments on X from people who have bright ideas and brilliant ambitions and no idea how product cycles work. You've already designed the car. They're going to build it. They just, if they don't, it would be the stupidest thing they've ever done. And the idea that you wouldn't sell the most popular car in the most popular shape in the country that wants it the most is bonkers. And I don't know, I understand the idea that people think everything's going to be robotaxi in 6 months or a year, but this is dangerous. It's a dangerous approach. Don't you think?
I mean, he says that we're building the Model Y, will come out till the end of next year. Might not ever. Maybe that means that if at that point they've got the production line for the Model Y, but if they've got the robotaxi cybercab moving, they might decide at that point use the resources for more cybercabs.
Don't you want billions of dollars in profit from a
Don't
car
you
that
want
you've already
$100 billion
designed?
of profit?
Right,
Because
but
the
you can't
cybercabs
have
makes
it. You can't
5
have
times
it. There's,
more than...
There isn't infinite overlap. There are people who will never take a robotaxi.
Yeah,
There are people who will only buy a car for decades to come. and we're just not going to sell them a car because
We haven't sold them the Model Y L before. We've selling the Model Ys and 3s,
Right.
and we're just going to continue selling the Model Ys and 3s for the next 5 to 10 years.
It's crazy. It is crazy. I am on record. It is crazy. And I don't believe it for a second. It's all trying to prevent Osborning. The vehicle would be too popular. And it, come on. We got to be real here, man. I don't know.
I mean, Elon has, in the Walter Isaacson book, has made it, he really wanted to go all in on robotaxi. We're going to stop making cars. We're going to make all robotaxis. They pushed back on him, and so that's where we are today. Now he's seeing robotaxi light under tunnel. It's here. It's coming. He's may put down this, what seems to be a stupid decision. We're going to stop making new variants of new drivable cars in the U.S. because the U.S. is going to go robotaxi, and we're going to make that. I mean, it's
an important market. It'd be really weird to leave an important vehicle out of an important market when you've already done all the engineering and tooling. It would be super weird. Maybe he should do a poll.
Yeah.
Will he abide by the results?
What do you think, Chris? So you're on this side of do you think he's lying, which he does sometimes?
Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying watching your back and forth. That's for sure. I do. No, I think I agree a lot with Brian. I see both sides of it for sure, but it would be crazy. I mean, that is the US is the perfect market for this car. Europe likes smaller cars. China is also a great market for it, so it makes sense to start it there. But Europe doesn't even want bigger cars. They want smaller cars. They want like Model 3 hatchback or something, right? So it going to Europe is kind of weird. And I think Australia would be a good market as well, which of course, can come from China for that. But the autonomy thing, the way you put it, Herbert, makes sense that he's not saying that, we're going to stop selling driver cars. We're just going to work on ramping up the driverless and just continue selling what we have that's already a driver car. But it'll be here. I don't know. It has to come here. It just has to come here. It makes no sense. It is craziness. I totally agree with what Brian's saying. It would be bonkers if this thing wasn't sold in the US.
I don't think it's as bonkers as you guys are saying, because you can make so much more money on a Cybercab. And so why not make one more Cybercab versus one more Model YL? Now I know, Brian, you're saying that they don't cross over. Right. You can make both.
We have enough factory space. We'll have enough batteries. I mean, we can make both. Make both monies. 2 monies, please.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, guys, these are 2 comments that Elon just made in the last day, this morning, and they're just, it's crazy talk, isn't it? For FSD 14 is going to be sentient, and we're going to just go double down on self-driving and no more new drivable cars anymore. But this is Elon, so
you have to take the crazy as part of the equation. You have to accept it. I've seen people say, "I just want a more normal CEO." This wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. And we know because the companies that you say have a normal CEO aren't here. So it's, it's an exciting company, that's for sure. And not all excitement is always good for you. But yeah, I'm excited. It's coming. I do want to ask in towards closing here, Chris, do you have any thoughts on, are we going to see a Roadster this year?
I don't care about that at all. Sorry.
That's all right.
I mean,
I understand.
Yes, I do think. Well, okay. So he, are you referring to the post he made of the best product presentation ever at the end of the year? Yeah, I kind of initially thought it was Roadster, but now I have other ideas that I'm hoping they're making a bigger SUV. I don't know. I would much rather see that than the Roadster. The Roadster's cool. I can't wait to watch the demos, but I just think it is, other than the people that put down all that money so many years ago, I just think it's kind of irrelevant. I want Optimus. That's what I'm looking forward to. Give me a robot, please.
Well, I want a full self-driving Optimus so I can get piggyback rides.
I'm sure it can do that.
Lars Morvey was interviewed at the X Takeover, and he said that this product demo thing that's going to blow everybody's minds is the Roadster.
Oh, I didn't know that was confirmed. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether or not it happens this year or not, I agree with you, Chris. I don't really care. It's a small sales, but it's just more like, look how cool Tesla is. Our cars can float or fly. That is amazing, but it's more of a demo than it is. Unless it could be a forebear of drones of something that might happen in the future, but it's not a big deal to me either. Yeah. And now what do you, Model S and X, where do you guys stand on that? Whether or not they will continue selling it or they should just stop selling it altogether?
I think that as long as they can keep one shift fully busy, it's fine to keep it. They are kind of halo cars. They do fill a small need in the market. But that's not space. The space that's used in Fremont to make it is not space you could readily retool for something else. They would have to do some demolition, and it's like it's an organ that kind of winds throughout the building. So it's not like it's one building they would be just crushing and restarting. So I think keep running it until the sales get low enough that you just can't.
Yeah, everything's already set up. They have, it's a different battery chemistry even. It's not affecting batteries for other vehicles and stuff. So you might as well just pump them out as long as people are buying them. I mean, they're great vehicles for the most part. They have a couple weird things just from being such an old platform. But yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't keep making them as long as they're selling. And the margins got to be pretty good on them too. Do you guys know? I don't know what they are, but they have to be real good.
I don't know, but I agree with you completely. The line is fully depreciated. Yes. And they're, it's got to be the easiest job at Tesla because, it's a low volume vehicle. Yeah.
Well, with the new change to the new offering now, where you have to pay $10,000 more, like they're both over $100,000 now, but comes with that extra $10,000 that's forced on you. You get the FSD, you get the supercharger. That is all margin. So I think that's what they did that for, and also to test this model of just a package thing now, and switching everybody to some sort of monthly fee. That would be a good way to do it too. Just basically, always every car sold will come with FSD at some point. Makes sense for the more expensive vehicles. Doesn't make sense for the smaller vehicles, lower cost vehicles. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and smaller. I mean, the Model S, if for folks who've never seen one in person, it's real wide. It's got a really wide footprint, especially when you see them parked in a modern mall with kind of small spots like Bellevue Square. It is, boy, there is not much room left inside the lines when you're done parking. But yeah, it's, I think that's a segment they feel they need to stay in, the high-end market. And it's not that you're forced to pay $10,000 extra. It's that you get to pay $10,000 extra. The car's more exclusive now. I think that's how it works.
So one last question, Chris. When they launch FSD 14, when they launch a new version, do they still practice that thing where they send it out to just a handful of people outside of employees? Like you and Omar would get it before us, or do they stop doing that?
Latest evidence, which is, half a year old at this point, is that yes, they still do that. But I mean, we don't know. They rolled out the early access program to a lot more people. I don't know if you remember that a while ago, and then they never sent an update again after that. So it's kind of, we don't know. This could, if it's as good as they say, I don't see why they don't just roll it out to everyone immediately. At the same time, there's a lot of changes, so I'm sure they want to be careful. But again, FSD 13 is so good, it's kind of like, yeah, everybody can use it. Like you can have it in a demo car. You've literally never driven a Tesla, and you can use FSD 13. So I bet because there's so many changes, they probably will do a slower rollout. But I would guess or hope that it won't be too exclusive for long. But yeah, it's hard to say.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to agree with Chris on all that. I can't speak to the early access. I've never had early access, but it is, if it works, it works, but you got to go slow because it's hard to test when you don't know what the code inside the box is doing. And with end-to-end neural nets, you don't know what it's doing. You have to test the results rather than look for, something specific in the code to verify. I did want to say a reminder that no after show this week because it's 12:44 in the morning here.
Oh,
yes,
sorry,
the
Brian.
time zone is off by 15 minutes in addition to all the hours, which is very unusual. But I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad to have Herbert and Chris joining. This is a whole lot of fun, and yeah, let's do this more often, you guys.
We will. Thank you so much. And so follow Chris because he might get early access to FSD 14. Check out his website, Dirty Tesla. You have a clean Tesla car too, right?
Yeah. Just a joke from a friend, a Tesla community friend.
Oh, you don't have a clean Tesla car.
No, one of them is named Clean Tesla because Tesla Joy commented that and it got the most votes on X. So.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so it is. Okay, that's the way it works. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Brian. See you guys. See y'all.
Thank you for the invite.